Good morning, welcome to Fairy and Spoilt. I'm going to talk to you today about why are people not punished for abusing dogs. This is another video that wasn't planned. I was supposed to be on holiday this week, and I am on holiday, but I have to talk to you about this. You know me, when things bother me about dogs, I have to talk to you about it. And I want to see what we can do about it. So basically, I've just seen something, and it's some dogs that are treated awfully. One of them's treated. Oh, Albert's leaving me. One of them's treated so badly that he's died, and the punishment is just. It's just so bad. It's just so rubbish, and I have to admit that I always thought the RSPCA. So I'm in the UK. I'm English. And I always thought that the RSPCA, so they're the people that like they are our biggest rescue centre, and they're the people that can take you to court if you don't look after your animals. And I always thought they were way too soft, and that they didn't punish people enough. But and some people have challenged them on this, but it isn't them, it's our government. Our government is not harsh enough in the punishment. And so in this particular case, there was two dogs, and they were just left in a shed basically to die, and one of them did. And the punishment was just like, well, for 8 years you can't own a dog. But they don't care. They didn't like the dog in the first place. They don't care, do they? They don't care. So what? What punishment is that? So what? The punishment needs to be a lot harsher. They need to be either going to prison or massive fines that are enforced, but probably prison. But I can understand our prisons are overcrowded. They're probably never going to do that. Massive fines in. But there has to be punishment. There has to be more punishment. And the thing is that really gets me about this. Obviously, I'm a massive dog lover. So obviously that really gets me, that dogs suffered. But I don't think people in the government are looking closely enough at what kind of person would put this kind of punishment on an animal. And it doesn't mean, yeah, I get it. Not, of course, not everybody in the world is as crazy as dogs about I am, as much as I am, or you are. I know a lot of you are crazy about your dogs, and I'm not asking everybody to be like that. But to leave an animal in a shed full of their own, where they've been to toilet, and they weren't fed, they were absolutely as thin as thin. What kind of person does it take to do that? And what is that person capable of? If you can watch dogs suffer like that, you clearly have no empathy and no compassion. And that is not just towards dogs, because if you're the sort of person who could watch a dog suffer like that, you have to look at, well, what about children? How do you feel about your children? And these people had children, because when you look at the pictures, there's pictures of children's stuff. So there's children there. And I think the government is really missing out on this. Okay, I'm going at it from the perspective of the dogs and how the dogs suffer, and potentially the children. But I think from the government's perspective, I bet you those people cost the government an absolute load of money in other ways, because they're just horrible, nasty people. Evil, evil people. I mean, I just can't understand how they're just allowed to get away with it. I don't know what it's like in other countries. I know that a lot of you are watching from America. I think on the whole, you're not too bad. There are some states where I see your laws are very, very questionable. Very, 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 very questionable. There are some things that you're allowed to do to dogs in some states in America that you absolutely are not allowed to do in the UK. And you will be punished quite severely for it. And I think that the states that allow you to do whatever you want to a dog are missing really, really, really being done, because the people that would do that kind of thing to a dog would also do that kind of thing to a child and a human. Obviously, I don't want to go into the details, but you sort of know what I'm getting at. And I think, again, go to the source of the problem. And if you can see how people would treat a dog, then you can see how they would treat children or other people. Across the world, places like Thailand, it's basically a free-for-all. They don't have rescue centres. And I understand that to run a rescue centre costs a lot of money. And it takes a lot of money from people like us that pay money to these rescue centres. So I understand in countries where they're not rich countries, they're not going to put their money. I can understand that. I completely get that. And thankfully, in those countries like Thailand, there are people who absolutely love dogs, and they've set up their own little rescue centres, and they're doing amazing, incredible work. And I'm so, so grateful for them. But in the countries where we are rich, let's not mess around. Okay, I know at the moment in the UK and in America, we are going through a tough time. I know that. The economy has had it, and we are all really feeling the cost of living. But compared to a lot of countries, we are still rich. And so I'm incredibly grateful that we do have the RSPCA, the SPI, what was it, the SSPCA? In Australia and America, you have it, don't you? The ASPCA. And I'm very, very grateful that we have them. But they're of no use to us if they are not punishing people who are treating dogs badly. And with any law, with anything like that, the only way the government is going to change it is if there is call for change. They're not going to change it if they don't have to change it, because they can't be bothered. And our government just does not put animal welfare as a priority. Now, again, I understand that there are other things that are priority. The economy, children starving. I understand that completely, and I understand why that's put first, and I get all that. But there is absolutely no reason why people who abuse animals and neglect animals can't be fined, because you can bet your life that, like, so this lady that has just been done for abusing these two dogs, you can bet your life that she's got money. I bet you she's not really, really poor. And this might be a bit of a generalisation, and I might get a lot of flack for this, but you do generally find that the poorer people are kinder people, because I think they're humble. And if you look again at the countries like Thailand, places like that, where they haven't got any money, and they are, literally, you can't even begin to compare the lack of what they have. You can't even begin to compare it. But they are so much nicer to their animals. Don't get me wrong, there's some people in countries like Thailand that are just awful to animals. But there were a lot of really nice, humble people. And, I find that a lot in life as I'm on, I wander around, I wandered around my dogs all the time. I attract a lot of people who have dogs. And I have found that the people who live the more modest life, I don't know, there's something about them. They just have a real kindness with animals. Don't give me a hard time about this. I'm not saying for one second that people who have money aren't nice to animals. That's not what I'm saying. And that's not what I'm saying. But I think that just because you live in you have a dirty garden and you leave your dogs to die in a shed, doesn't mean that they couldn't be fined. I think that really needs looking at. And I would absolutely go for prison. I don't know why. And I know sometimes that in our country, people are put in prison if they abuse animals. There was a greyhound racer recently. I think she went to prison because she was really, really treating greyhounds badly. But, this 8 years of being banned. This ban from owning dogs, of course it should happen. Of course it should if you abuse a dog. But what effect is it? They don't care. It's not like if you banned me from owning dogs for 8 years, I'd be absolutely devastated. Obviously, I would never do anything that would mean that would happen. But the only persons that are going to be bothered by a ban on owning dogs are dog lovers which obviously wouldn't abuse them. So it's an absolutely, completely pointless punishment that has no effect whatsoever at all. And so somehow we've got to get this changed. Somehow we've got to change it. Somehow. Petitions. Petitions annoy me a bit because I think there's no organisation to it. This always hits me after bonfire night. So in the UK, we don't have 4th of July, obviously, because we're in the UK. But we have about 2 weeks over Halloween and bonfire night when the fireworks are just ridiculous. And afterwards, I must get sent, I'm not joking, I must get sent 50 petitions to sign to stop the fireworks. And the same thing is happening every year. I sign the same petitions every year and nothing ever gets done about it. And I always think, and I always say when I'm doing the petition, rather than signing 50 petitions, why don't we just have one petition where all the signatures can go? And that would have a real effect. And it's the same with this. There is no point in having loads and loads of petitions about this and nothing happening. So, I'm going to have a think about this. I need to have a think about it. I need to work out what I'm going to do about it. And I need to think about the best way to start a petition up or something. I'm not exactly sure. But it's on my mind. It's what's happening. So this is what's happening. So, yeah, I just wanted to talk to you really about it because it's just not acceptable. It's not okay. It's not okay at all. I mean, our government has got to change this. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable at all. And the thing is, if when they're taking them to court and they're handing out these 8-year fines, you can't own a dog, which, by the way, who is ever policing that? No one's policing that. So basically, they're just completely getting away with it. There is no punishment. Therefore, there is no deterrent. If it was a well-known fact that if you are caught mistreating a dog, abusing a dog, you are going to be fined a massive amount. And it happens, no question, well, obviously the questions are asked, but court happens and then you're going to be fined a massive amount. There is no doubt about it. People would think twice. But right now, there is no punishment. You can, I mean, so what? There's just no punishment, and people know that. And the RSPCA, they just don't hold any clout, and it's not their fault because they are governed. They can only, the government set the laws. But maybe the RSPCA should be, well, no, not maybe. The RSPCA should be working harder to get those laws changed. Rather than just accepting it and saying this is what happens, they should be working harder to get those laws changed. Actually, yeah, they should be, shouldn't they? I think it's no good just saying, well, that's the law and just lying down and taking it. They need to be saying why that law isn't good enough and going to the government with that and getting that set up, not just taking it. I might contact the RSPCA about that, see what their thoughts are on that, because that's not okay. It's not okay to just say, well, this is the punishment we're going to give out, it's rubbish. But unfortunately, because that is how they responded to it. So a lot of people were mad on this thing about the abuse case, this post. And they were all saying basically exactly what I've said now. And the RSPCA responded and said, well, it's not our fault, we don't make the laws. But that is not right. The RSPCA have got the biggest clout, and therefore they should be using that to get this law changed, because it's not right. It's just not right at all. It drives me mad when people abuse animals. But I think what drives me more, well, that does drive me mad, but what else drives me mad is when you've got an organisation that have as much of a voice and they don't do anything with that voice. That drives me crazy. I've just got my tiny little channel here and I wish I had more of a voice so I could do more. And so people that have got a voice should be doing more. Oh, it drives me crazy. Any thoughts you've got on it? Any ideas? I would also be really interested to know, what's it like in your country? What are the laws like for abusing animals in your country? Do you think they're good enough? I'd be interested to know, like, around the world, what's going on out there. What are the rules like? Are they good enough? I suspect that they're not going to be. Be interesting to know. My boys are all fast asleep. We've just been out for our walk. It's a beautiful day today. Really beautiful, beautiful day out there. I'll tell you something though, it has rained and rained and rained. It's like been such a wet, cold summer. I'm not moaning about it because last year we had the hottest summer on record. It hit 40 degrees. It's just absolutely ridiculous. So I'm not massively moaning about it, but we've got one of a very few sunny days. But my boys don't care. They'll walk in the rain. They know. In England, you've got to be used to walking dogs in the rain. It's just part of life. So there's my pickle boy there, Harry, fast asleep. Got humps on the floor here. Absolutely conked out from his walk. He's doing so well. We've nearly had him a year now. And what I've done is I've been making notes about all the stuff that I've learnt from him over that year. He came from Korea, from the dog meat trade, and it was aggressive. I had to rebuild physically and mentally every part of him in that year. And some of it's going really well. We've still got a long way to go on other bits. I've made mistakes along the way. I was proud of other stuff that I did. And so I've just been making notes, really, of everything that I've learnt over that year, in case any of you have got rescue dogs and there's anything that you could learn from that. So that will be coming out at the end of August, because 20th of August is the day we got him. And yeah, I'll be doing that. And I've got my little Albert over here, fast asleep. So that's it. As always, you know where I am, social media. I might be a bit quieter for the next few weeks. We're on holiday. Oh, there he is. He's woken up. You woken up, Humps? Yeah? You had a lovely sleep, didn't you? Did you have a lovely sleep? You did. So, yeah, I'm still around, but I'm just probably slowing down a little bit during August, have some time off. I hope you're all having a lovely summer, wherever you are, with your dogs. I hope it's not too hot for you. I hope you're having a lovely time. So we'll leave it there. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you're all enjoying your summer. And we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.